All right, we're streaming YouTube. I will be checking that in a sec. First, let's check that up. Welcome, everybody, to the State of Whiskey in 2023. This is going to be definitely my opinion of what I see in the industry. And all the people that I talk throughout the industry and what's in store for us coming up, all the different things that can be happening. I want to talk about that tonight in tonight's podcast. I'm going to start the Facebook Live right now. We started, let's just make sure I got the YouTube Live going. And once I see that, I will make sure, because I know your channel. There we are. I'm live. Let's see. Distilling. It's saying home. Distilling industry. It says it's live. I'm going in there. Yep.
Once I see that,
I'm there. Okay, we'll stop that. As far as looking at that, now we're going to go check out Facebook Live. Let's see what happens when I hit up on that. I'm going to share to all the groups on Facebook Live. Let's go live. 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to tonight's podcast of the State of Whiskey in 2023. This is definitely, again, as I said, for the YouTube streamers, my opinion, based off of talking to a lot of people in the industry. I'm going to go over the different types of distilleries and different people that I met and the goals of where people are in the country with bourbon and whiskey and what I think the trends are going to be. Just so you know, this is all my opinion. It's a minorly educated opinion because there's a lot of people in this industry that know a lot more, but I also have a unique take on this. I usually genuinely am a very positive person. So feel free to chime in. I'm going to basically now hit Facebook up really quick. Jeffrey Mueller should be up there. Let's see. We're on Facebook Live here. There we are. Let me, hey, everybody who's already listening, let me share this post to the groups. Share. Whiskey industry 2023. All right, let's get off of that. Let's share to a group. Sure, the distilling. Okay, 2023. Yep, that's good. Let's go. Let's just have some fun. I have no idea. I'm starting to. I'm back in the Bourbon Nation, which is I've been kicked out of that for a while. I must have been on. I have not seen that. I have not seen that. That's kind of unique. Let me just share to these groups. Bourbon. God darn it. I'll have to get off of that. Sorry for that, Central Whiskey. That was some nights you're just on your sharing, and then other nights, it's just like you're not. It's like, and then some nights while you're sharing, it's kind of like Facebook just dials it up for you. And then other nights, there's nothing. I mean, it's like it's not giving you. They're not dialing up the groups. It's kind of like everyone here. Like I just can't get on a roll of the different. Now here now we are, but still. And there's a group, so it's all mixed up. And then other nights it's not. So just hang in there with me while I've been in some new groups I've been involved to be. We'll see if they tolerate the Scotchy Bourbon Boys and our podcast. It's always interesting to see if the group tolerates content the way that I provide content. That's all. That's the way you can say it. I provide a lot of contact and information. Some groups look at it like somehow you're spamming, but I'm just trying to give information and have fun and drink bourbon and whiskey. All right, we're still sharing. I mean, I haven't even gotten to the main Ohio groups that I know. There we go. Now we're starting bourbon. Yeah, now it's like the whole, what would you say? The whole community is at the bottom. I don't even know. Half the time, bourbon. I'll just keep going if I get bourbon lovers. I'll get into that one and still have not gotten to my main shares. The ones that should be at the top are all at the bottom. We'll see. There we go. There's Wisconsin Wisco Bourbon Club, Central Ohio. Yep. National Bourbon League. All right, Kentucky Bourbon. All right, now I have to go to my groups and just delete the post in Central Ohio Bourbon. Let me go in there really quick, folks. Now, of course, this Central Ohio Bourbon Whiskey Society, I got to get off of this. All right. Okay, delete. I will delete this post. There we go. We're good. I'm sorry, Central Ohio. That was a mistake of my finger. All right. So my groups are up, and we're getting ready to start this podcast. Let me just quick monitor to see what we're at here in. We're live now. Okay. I'll monitor that in between. Oh, all right. So we're getting ready to start this podcast, and welcome everybody. This is actually the first podcast recorded in 2023. Excited. We're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. I'm going to get ready to get going. What you're going to see this is just what you're seeing on Facebook and on YouTube is the pre-setting of a podcast. Everything we do all the stuff, all the setup and everything. You can kind of see I've got my bourbon here aside. I don't understand what's going on with that. All right, but believe it or not, there's a bunch of other bottles all over the place. You might be able to see those on Facebook, and you can. But what I wanted to do is just go over, what the format is. Once we get going in the next couple minutes, what I'm going to do is there's going to be a 30-second spot. I wish I could. Actually, I probably can. I don't know. I'll get feedback. But what I like to do is we have a sponsor, the Spirit of French Lick, that we play. Just so you know, the sponsors of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys are, and I like to go over this for the video, is we have Log Still Distillery, Lynn and Wally Dant down in Gethsemane, Kentucky, and Charlie Dant. They are doing a wonderful job at the Log Still Distillery. They have their Monks Road that has come out. They've got their wheated bourbon. They've got their Rattle and Snap 8-year, 4-year. I mean, what they're doing down there is amazing. They've got a train depot set up for train events like dinner on the train, and then also night stays on the train. They built their event center, so they have weddings and whiskey events happening all the time. That's a pretty cool place. And then also they've just opened their distillery. I went down there in December and toured the distillery. Me, myself, Roxy, Super Nash. We had Charlie Dant show us around. Amazing what they're doing there. They're distilling some of their family recipes right now. Can't wait for that to get out. The restaurant is being built. They have their gift shop tasting room. That's one of the first thing, but then they have the amphitheater set up. This should be their third year coming up. And that amphitheater is a pretty seriously cool place. So if you haven't been down to Log Still Distillery in Gethsemane, Kentucky, right outside of Bardstown, it's about 20 minutes outside of Bardstown. You gotta check it out. Stop in and say hi to the Dant family, the experience they have down there and what they keep doing and providing. I mean, there's so much more that's going to happen there. So that's our one sponsor. Then the Spirit of French Lick down in French Lick, Indiana, in West Baden. There's a lot of other things that happen in French Lick. So they have a casino there. They have this really cool, I mean, they were known for the hot springs and the health spa in the the late 1800s. So it's a really kind of cool town with some really cool things happening, but the distillery and winery at French Lick is amazing. You got Alan Bishop down there. You've got oh my God, Laureline Dottie down there. They own. She's part of ownership of the winery, but she works with Alan to produce Alan produces some of the best whiskey, in my opinion, being produced across the United States. And Alan is nothing but super person, sharing and doing all the things that he needs to do to produce some damn good whiskey. But you're going to hear this, you won't hear the spot. I just kind of did the spot. So the spot will play for 30 seconds. So I'm about to be quiet. Then we're going to go into, I got to get into the YouTube now. Let me really quick do this. It's kind of funny that I had it all set up and then it all went to crap, but I will get it right back. Okay, here we go. Your channel. There we go. Really? We're live, so it's overpowering. Seriously? Let's see if I can do it. Videos. See, this is why you get to see this. You get to see the technical difficulties. I am going to try and go to home, and then I'll try going back to your channel. Nope, I've been overridden for what? My first time it's ever happened. How do I get overridden? All right, so I'll just have to go into videos and find the actual video. Just hold on, folks. There it is. So here we go. We're going to start recording. State of whiskey and bourbon in the distilling industry 2023. Oh, excellent. I got an ad. Good. Here we go. We're telling you All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, the first one of 2023. I'm Tiny. Sometimes I podcast with a bunch of other people, but tonight we're just going solo with Tiny. One of the cool things, remember, the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, we're getting bigger and bigger, and it's been very exciting. So remember www.scotchybourbonboys.com for all things Scotchy Bourbon Boys. And then also remember, there we go. My normal, I didn't turn it down like I was. And so then oh my God, technical difficulties as always. It's down now. I'm monitoring the Facebook tonight, also the YouTube. If you have any comments and you're watching, just feel free to ask because tonight's a pretty cool episode. But once again, www.scotchybourbonboys.com for everything Scotchy Bourbon Boys. You can get cool Scotchy Bourbon Boys t-shirts, Glencairns, Scotchy Bourbon balls for the people on YouTube. And there's the Scotchy Bourbon Boy Glencairn. It's a pretty cool Glencairn that I will be drinking out of tonight. But also remember, we are on all podcast formats. If you have Alexa, ask her to play it. If you have Siri, play the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. It's on all formats. So that's really a cool thing. Check us out. Just so stupid. Siri's up. I'm trying to put Siri back to bed there. And then one of the cool things, I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just share this in Messenger to some people. It comes up. One of the cool things, there we go. There's some people that I can share to really quick that I know that, listen to the podcast, and it kind of lets them know that I'm podcasting. So here we go. I'm still looking. Normally, that's a lot of different people there, but let's just I just want to do a couple right here. There we go. And I will send out one there and then one more. We're almost there. Yep. Okay. So I shared the Facebook. See if we could get some people from the industry to join us. It's kind of a cool thing that we got going there. And okay, we're back up. Ricky Edwards has joined us. Thank you for joining us, Ricky. I know that from time to time you watch the podcast. So anyways, once again, you can ask those devices to, just find us or listen to us on any podcast format that you listen to podcasts. Just search the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. We're there. We are also on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and oh my God, Twitter. There you go. So anyways, tonight's podcast, really kind of cool. There's Super Nash. Super Nash is right here. He's asking, do you think rum balls are better than Scotchy Bourbon? Asking and not so for a not so good of a friend. I don't know about rum balls, so Scotchy Bourbon balls are much better than the rum balls. So there you go. But Super Nash is watching tonight. That's kind of cool. We've got a bunch of people that also. But the main event tonight of what we're going to be doing is really kind of cool. We're going to go over how this is strictly my opinion. If other people want to join in, if Alan Bishop or Greg Schneider, have their own take, feel free to chime in. But I will say that in my opinion is humble, but it's my opinion. I mean, I have it, and I visit a lot of different distilleries. I visit with a lot of people within the industry, the big parts of the industry, the little parts of the industry, and I'm just going to go over some of the people that we've met with in the past year. We met with Royce and Rebecca Neely. Right now they're working with Jackie Z-Con to produce this Hidden Barn, which is Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. Their batches keep getting better and better. We've been with Seth at Broken Barrel, which I really think his concept of what he's doing is a cool thing, and it really seems to get traction. I mean, smashing barrels and then putting the whiskey into holding tanks and throwing the smashed barrels in to age the whiskey further is a concept that is unique to him, and he's really doing a good job with it and marketing, and it shows you the innovation that's happening within the industry. I think he's one of the people that have done that. Then we're talking about the Scotchy Bourbon Boys Knob Creek pick. We went down to Jim Beam, and Jim Beam, Beamsome Tory, which owns a ton of distilleries throughout the world. But what they've done, Freddie, Sandy, and the Beam family, what they've done to put themselves into what I felt like last year, the distillery was pretty much on fire because they opened up the James B. Beam distillery. They've got their Booker No distillery. They've got the Claremont distillery, and now they have the smaller craft distillery, the James B. Beam distillery, and Freddie is working with that. But what they were able to produce and release at the distillery last year for a major distiller to play in the whole aspect of the craft whiskey realm was amazing. Jim, they released Hardin's Creek, and they released 2 versions. They're going to be releasing more of it, but one was my favorite, and the Kentucky Bourbon Boys Bourbon of the Year was Jacob's Well. But the other one, the James B. Beam, actually was number 18 in, I believe, Whiskey Advocate. It was their number 18 bourbon, and that bourbon was 2 years old. I mean, and it made the top 18 whiskeys in the world. I mean, that's just amazing when you think about it. The top 18, and it's a 2-year-old. So, I mean, that's crazy. What they're doing at Jim Beam is phenomenal. Now, then there's Lux Row. John Rempe, we stopped by, had a tour with the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. I got to meet John. I'm looking forward to doing more. But what they've been doing with their, I really think what they do at their distillery, with their distillery releases, you're talking Blood Oath, we're talking Rebel Distillers Collection, we're talking Ezra Brooks Distillers Collection, we're talking about Ezra Brooks Cask Strength, Rebel Cask Strength, their Rebel 10-year. And then their Lux Row Deluxe, it's a combination of 2 12-year barrels. I mean, what's happening there is phenomenal. And then they were bought by MGP this year, Luxco was, but they're really have the backing that they need to do what they do. Plus they own Limestone Branch also, which at Limestone Branch and Stephen Beam and what they're doing there with the Yellowstone. Yellowstone is just exploding as far as and then their Limestone Branch special releases out of the distillery. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Then you've got Lucky 7, which is JP and Michael that we got to meet at Kentucky Bourbon Festival, producing some fantastic whiskey. They're not distilling it, but they're blending. You've got also Danny and Michael. They are from Penelope, and they are blending also. And Penelope has been putting out some damn good whiskey. Then you've got what's happening at Woodford Reserve. You've got these little 375 milliliter, honey. This was the honey barrel finish. This is their experimental bourbon that they put out in their gift shop, 375 milliliter, and it's obtainable when you go to the gift shop. So these specific bottles are fantastic. So Woodford also does their wood finishing series that they put out this year, and that has been available. So what's been happening at Woodford's which is a Brown and Forman. Now, that was a bump. I also have this here, which came from Whiskey Thief Distillery. And this is a distillery in Kentucky that when you go to it, basically for the price of a tour, which I believe is $25, you got to get the tour, and then you get to taste through 5 barrels of that they thief and give you a taste of. And if you want or like one of the barrels, you are allowed to thief and bottle your own whiskey. So you're doing a barrel selection right there as part of the distillery tour, and then you get to bottle your own bourbon. I mean, what kind of experience is that? Then you're talking about, we also have Monk's Road, which Log Still Distillery is one of our sponsors, Lynn and Wally Dant. They are building a campus in Gethsemane, Kentucky, in, I believe it's northern Nelson County, or there's 2 counties down there, New Haven or New Hope. I believe it's New Haven County, New Haven, and then in Gethsemane. And basically they have, they're really in phase 3 of their 4-phase stage of opening up a fantastic campus. They've already got their event center open. They've already got the distillery, the full distillery is working. We just toured that. They've got their, they've got so much other stuff going on that it's amazing what's going on down there. They've got the places to stay. They're working on different, lots of different type things. I don't know what to tell you. Amazing what's going on at Log Still. And if you hear anything in the background, it's kind of like, I think my wife is doing laundry. So anyways, not the normal thing to kind of do when I'm podcasting, but it's happening. But you've got also this, what Wally and Lynn are doing down there. There's one other thing that's opening up. They're getting ready to, they're building their restaurant. So they're going to have restaurant, event center. They've got an amphitheater down there, which is going into its 3rd season. They're going to put their 2nd season of their locomotion train station aspect. And it's just really kind of a cool overall experience, destination, campus that's going to be down there. Now, we are also, when it comes to campuses, there's 2 other campuses that we've been kind of involved with. One is we've got it is Luca Mariano. Luca Mariano has finished their first rick house, and they broke ground this past fall in their distillery. So they are getting close to, now they were contract distilling before in Kentucky, and now their stuff that they've been distilling is aging in their own rick houses, and it's really kind of a real cool thing to be a part of the ground level with Luca Mariano. And then also we've been hanging out with Ryan Lang at Middle West Spirits. What he's going down in Columbus has been pretty fantastic. He produces some really good whiskey. Hold on one second. Okay, I am back. Sorry for the quick, brief thing. I just needed to make something quieter. All right, but those are, and last but not least, one of our main sponsors is the Spirit of French Lick, and the Spirit of French Lick is pretty much a craft distillery that was started at a winery, and Alan Bishop down there, who is one of the most fantastic distillers that I've met in the industry. Super awesome person too. Love you, Alan. But one of the things that he is just now starting to get into his own as far as distilling. Whereas when you start out a craft distillery, there's a lot of things that you have to do. One, you have to get spirits to the gift shop to start off, because the aging spirits, you're going to pay the labor, all the grain costs, everything, and the barrel costs, and you're going to put it in, and you got to wait 4 or 5 years. 6, 7, 8 years, there's stuff that you age and keep going. The Spirit of French Lick is now getting into where some of his bourbon that he did initially, there's a lot of stuff that Alan did to get this off the ground. He's a fantastic distiller of other spirits like apple brandy. He basically produces some really good apple brandy. He has done absinthe. He's aged bourbon in absinthe barrels. He's aged absinthe in bourbon barrels. So there's a lot of kind of creative type things that Alan Bishop does. But he has introduced this year, he introduced the Solomon Scott Rye, bottled in bond, which just came out this fall. There was some barrel picks earlier, but not a huge fan of rye, but and Alan admits that he's not always a fan of rye, but the rye he's producing with that Solomon Scott is some fantastic stuff. And then you've got the Matty Gladden. He introduced the William Dalton, his wheated bourbon. I mean, what he's got going there, and the inventory that he keeps making is coming of age. It just keeps getting better and better. That is one of the cool things that when we first started in 2019, Alan was just producing Matty Gladden, and he was producing also the Weeder, and he also had produced Lee Sinclair, but they weren't bottled in bond. It was only until the next year that he produced the bottled in bond. And once he started producing that bottled in bond, his whiskey is fantastic, folks. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's a damn good whiskey, damn good distillery, made by really, really good people. And a shout out to... oh my God. I want to say there's I believe it's Justin. There's Josh and Justin. Yeah, Justin Whaley. So he's the assistant distiller there and has seemed to fit in very, very well. So, anyways, I just am so bad at names. It takes me like a year of knowing somebody to actually have confidence in saying their name. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Now there's some other type things on the horizon that the Scotchy Bourbon Boys are excited about. Jolie Kasperzak, she has been a really good friend of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, and there's big things to come. Where she is at the Pataka Winery, they're working on producing, and starting to produce distilled spirits. We're excited about that. She's been on the podcast and talked about this, and it's been amazing. So one of the things, now I just reviewed the people in the industry. I got to stop right there. I did not mention Buffalo Trace and their huge expansion that they're doing, Harlan Wheatley was on the podcast a year in November talking about the expansion. They are getting close. That still is getting close. They're looking at doubling the production there. The experience that they got going there is amazing. When you go there, you've got Freddie Johnson giving tours, and the tastings are awesome. They do a really, really good job there. So what is the, what does that mean for, what does it actually mean for 2023? What is happening in the distilling industry? Well, from a standpoint of a consumer in the state of Ohio, things are really, really getting good for the consumer. We have, in the last couple short years, the state of Ohio, which is a control state, has taken that connotation of a control state that limits and makes it cost more and all this kind of stuff, and they've completely flipped it. It doesn't cost more. Actually, with the bourbon market and how hot it is, when you buy something off the shelf here, and you can because it is a control state, you don't have to pay $189 for a $49 bottle. In Kentucky, there's a ton of places that you can find the whiskey, but you're going to pay way more than the MSRP. Here in Ohio, it has to sell for the MSRP. The liquor stores don't actually buy the bottles. The state of Ohio puts it in there on consignment, and when they sell them, they make a percentage of the sale. It's not a huge percentage of the sale and how it works, but there's a lot of different ways that, in that liquor store models are set up. There's the grocery store setup, which the liquor store brings in people who then buy beer and wine also. I mean, there's so many different ways to do it. But here in the state of Ohio, it's gotten very exciting because of the barrel picks and how they're working with distilleries and how they're working to get the new distillers producing and putting their whiskey on the shelf. But one of the really cool things that I've seen in probably this last quarter is where there wasn't always a lot of good bourbon on the shelf because it would sell so fast. But because the state of Ohio and other places are working so hard, the new distilleries, to get this stuff to the shelf, the market is starting to become, what would you say, they're starting to meet the demand a little bit. So some of this really good bourbon, when you walk in, and you might be waiting in line on a Friday or a Saturday to get it from the release of, whatever the delivery is going to be. But when you walk in there, stuff that you're not used to seeing is still on the shelf. I've been seeing a lot of whiskey. Bardstown Bourbon Company, they had a lot of awards on their rum finished bourbon. They've got a bunch of, but when you walk into the store, those are there. They're for the taking. A little bit expensive, but they're there. And then you've got certain brands coming. Penelope, their barrel strength is, I walked in the other day and there was a Penelope barrel strength right there on the shelf. 6-8 months ago, that wasn't possible. Even though it was here, it wasn't something that was always happening. So what's been happening is Buzzard's Roost. There's so many different distillers and blenders and people bringing their really good whiskey. Pursuit United, Ryan and Cecil. Ryan and Kenny. Ryan Cecil. Ryan and Kenny have produced so many different really, really good products, but they're here also. You can find them. So what's been happening is because the expansion of the industry, and as a podcaster, I'm keeping up with the expansion. A lot of the new distilleries I've been to and follow and have been a part of and know that their whiskey is coming. So because of that, when it does hit the shelf, I know what's hitting the shelf, what the brand is. A lot of people there's so much new stuff hitting the shelf that the brand, it's become, what would you say? They're not sure. And some of it's, pricey. So a lot of times if you haven't tasted something, it's hard to spend $169 on a bottle. But some of these bottles are winning these awards and getting really, really good traction. So you're getting a huge amount of advantage, especially us people who are paying attention to what the new stuff is and what news coming out. And but at the same time, things like Booker's, which up until last year in the spring, you get 2-3 days of Booker's on the shelf. Booker's would hit. It wouldn't sell out in the morning, but probably in about June or July, that ended. It completely ended. All of a sudden, now you have to get Booker's in the morning. Even this last drop in the state, there was an awful lot of Booker's dropped. A lot of people got it, but it went fast. It didn't stay on the shelf. I remember the Boston batch of 2 years ago, and that actually stayed on in the shelves and on the shelf for 3-4 months. So this is really kind of exciting. It's coming to a peak, the market, but what I think's what's happening is we've seen the beginning of supply and demand starting to. There's enough supply to meet the demand that we're starting to see that. Not on all things. I mean, Buffalo Trace, not even close. But when you're talking about some of these other bourbons, the supply is they're putting out enough for everybody to get some. And that is one thing that on these higher end bourbons that they haven't been able to do. And now they're being able to meet that supply because they've been dealing with the market and this boom for a while, and they keep increasing. And they're able to start to meet that demand to some extent. When you're talking 5-6-year-old bourbons, we're still, if you're talking a 6-year-old, you're talking about 2016, 2017, 2016. I mean, we were full into at that point into the bourbon boom. So that's one thing that's really exciting. Now they are really going crazy with what they're putting in at the moment. When I first started going to Bardstown in 2019, when I went to Bardstown for the first time, Bardstown Bourbon Company was fairly new. I really researched it and had no idea what it was. What would you say, their blueprint of what they were doing. Most people didn't know what they were doing, this contract distilling. And there's a lot of people who started out at blenders that are now distilling. For instance, Chicken Cock, Greg Schneider. I wanted to talk about him and what's coming up because he basically is distilling, putting it into barrels, aging it at Bardstown Bourbon Company. His brand is amazing. And what he's doing there, and it's another way that, and he is getting bourbon to the shelf. Now when I walk in to my stores in Ohio, I can pick up a standard Chicken Cock bourbon or rye on the shelf. Exciting. Now, some of the other stuff that they released, it's not always there, but I've even seen some of the newer releases recently actually on the shelf. So that's kind of exciting what's happening with Bardstown Bourbon Company with brands like Chicken Cock and Kentucky Owl. Now, a lot of places take it one step further. They might start at Bardstown Bourbon Company and then they start to do their own thing. They start distilling and building their own distillery. So, there's lots of different things, but what I'm seeing is once again, the outlook of supply and demand, supply finally starting to be met a little bit. So some of us that were searching for bottles, some of the new stuff will be available, whereas in the past, the new stuff just got, engulfed and bought up. Now, if we're talking about what the distilling, where the distilling industry is going, that's another aspect of what are all these distilleries doing to meet the demand. So let's just go over. You've got Jim Beam adding a full another craft distillery. Now they're just announced a revamp of the Booker No facility to become more productive, and also I believe have guests. Then you've got Buffalo Trace doubling their capacity, putting in another still. You've got now Barton's 1792 has kind of gone and done something in the opposite direction. They basically stopped all tours, and they and they are concentrated on distilling, and they have the second largest still. They have the second largest still in Kentucky, behind the Jim Beam still, and that still produces a lot of different bourbons. But when they stopped taking, they decided not to do the guests and the gift shop and the tours. They stopped that, which was kind of a sad thing because most of the distilleries are embracing that. But at the same time, they also they sold a huge amount of stock to Costco. So there's one example of a brand that I wasn't very excited what they did, because I'm the kind of guy that likes everything. We've argued this before on the podcast. So I like, what would you say? I like packaging. I like to tour a facility. I like getting the knowledge. I mean, what the distilleries are doing, what Heaven Hill has done, revamped their center twice. They've got You Do Bourbon, and then also they have Evan Williams experience in Louisville. Plus, they distill in Louisville, but they just announced plans to build a distillery in Bardstown. So you're looking at the growth and expansion of these distilleries trying to meet it. Now, one of the things that you always hear is that we're still only 77% of production that we were pre-prohibition. So pre-prohibition, how much whiskey and was being made in bourbon, we're only at like 77%. And at the time, I believe there wasn't even 1 billion people on the planet. So now we're at 7 billion people on the planet. The markets are worldwide. India is exploding. So when it comes to bourbon and whiskey and American whiskey, so there's a lot of that going on, that they're keep trying to meet that demand for the people. And at the moment, I don't see an end in sight towards whiskey. Now, what are the problems in the industry? There's a couple. One, we all know about the glass shortage. Getting enough glass to bottle this bourbon to meet the demand has been challenging at all different levels. A lot of times, barrel picks. I've done a couple of them. Used to wait 1 to 2 months. Now you're waiting, they would tell you 3 and you wait 4 months. So there's a lot of that going on. And then also what we're looking at is a barrel shortage coming up. Not based off of wood, but based off of the economy and where the world is today, because the hard part right now is to get the wood. The wood's there, but getting it out of the forests and, getting it processed, that's wherein lies the problem. Because right now, worker shortages and all this type of stuff has been hampering the amount of barrels. So big guys are, everybody's feeling they can sense that that's coming. I don't know if that's going to come in 2023 or if it's going to come in 2024. But it will be coming. Now, with that said, what does that mean to the industry? In my opinion, what it means to the industry is 100% American whiskey and American single malt will be starting to come into its own. Because one, when you make American whiskey, it doesn't have the bourbon rules. You can use a used barrel. So using used barrels will make sense instead of just sending them all off to Scotland and Ireland, in other places so they can use the bourbon barrels. They could start reusing their own. One example of Brown and Forman, when they were doing early times, basically early times whiskey was just the same whiskey that they were making the early times bottled and bond in their bourbons. And then they would make early times and use the barrels over. So there's a lot of different things that go into it, but those are two of the things I see on the horizon. I mean, the bottle shortage is going to keep the worker shortage. I say in 2023 we start to resolve that. But as far as the barrel shortage, that's the next one that's coming on the horizon. So once again, let's see, do we have anybody up from his past distillery visit, professionals, interviews? I'm just seeing what Super Nash said in his booming. Yep, I would say, yeah, he gave his really, really long opinion. That's a long one on there. I say congratulations, thank you to the bourbon industry that you do try to meet our thirsty demands. Yeah, I mean, I think that they are meeting those and doing a good job. And I think where you go and all the different distilleries that you stop off at and all the places that we talk to the people, each distillery. So you got the craft industry, which used to be young, coming into its own. I mean, it's really starting to get some aged bourbon in there. You've got the blenders buying bourbon and blending. You've got that whole part of the industry. You got the distillers. You got the mid-range distillers. You got, Kentucky Artesian Distillery. But then you also have the big distilleries, Heaven Hill. It's funny because some of the craft distilleries that you think are craft are being produced at a larger on a larger volume. So always I find it very important that you read your labels, do your research to find out what you're actually drinking and where is that bourbon or whiskey being produced. So anyways, I think that pretty much covers what's going to happen in 2023. I see a lot of new releases. I don't think anything's going away. You've got Lisa Roper Wicker landing and starting to produce again. You've got Jackie Zekon producing the Hidden Barn label with Rebecca and Royce Neely. You've got Neely coming into its own. I mean, there's just so much going on. And then, there's big things on the horizon for Luca Mariano this year. There's, I didn't even mention Wilderness Trail and Macaulay and Dr. Pat and also Shane all down there and what they're doing. They're killing it down there. There's no doubt. They just basically brought in sold and brought in a partner and then also, working on their firm solutions. So there's so much going on in the industry and I look forward to everything that 2023 brings. Remember, anybody, if there's any, I don't think there's any actual questions. I know, Ricky, that was, nope, that was early on. So shared that all over the place, was able to get in there. And also, let's see, I got to get this called up really quick. I know how to do this. I've done it before many times. There we go. There we go. So our theme song that you heard initially is sung by Kenny Fuller of the Old Americana band, which is Luca Mariano's band. But Kenny has gone off on his own, and he did that for us. He produced the Scotchy Bourbon Boys theme song, and we give a shout out in 2023. You could search Kenny on Apple Music or iHeart, and his musical career is kind of up there, so you can hear some of the songs that he did throughout his career. So check out Kenny Fuller on iTunes or iHeartRadio. But that brings us to the end of this wonderful segment. Remember, everybody, www.scotchybourbonboys.com. Thank you for joining me this fine Wednesday evening. Appreciate spending a little bit of time with you. I really was just doing a lot of talking, not very much drinking, that's for sure. There's so many good whiskeys, bourbons, and people out there in the industry. I think 2023's got a big heads up of thumbs up, I meant. And then with that, Remember to follow when you follow us on social media or you listen to us on the podcast. Remember, like, listen, comment, and subscribe. And then remember, when you go out, remember, good bourbon equals good times, good friends, and go out and live your life dangerously. Little Steve-O is going to take us out. I am going to hit it and turn it up. There we go.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you, I tell you, I tell you we must die.
All right, we're done recording. We're still live on Facebook and YouTube. I probably could have been monitoring. I have no idea what's on YouTube right now. Let's take a look real quick. What we're doing on YouTube. Let's go. Scotchy Bourbon Boys. And we got anybody actually watching? Let's see. Live on Facebook and YouTube. There we go. No, we don't. So that's there we go. Anyways, thank you for watching on YouTube. Greatly appreciated. I am going to stop streaming, but remember, good times equals good friends, and go out there. Good bourbon equals good times, good friends, and go out there and live your life dangerously. We'll stop the stream.